This is Storyboards. Hey everybody, this is our interview with our junior high middle school writing contest winner. So come check it out. Her name is Sarah Revo. I've been interviewing her with her parents. So take a look and enjoy her story right at the end. Alright, this is Storyboards, and welcome to this interview with Sarah Revo and her father, Dan Holliday. So, a little bit of a embarrassing point on my part. I had interviewed them once on Monday, and then the file got corrupted and I lost the interview. So, this is a redux. So, welcome back, Sarah and Dan. Thank you for coming in on such short notice as this. As you should know, Sarah is the winner of our middle school and junior high division of the writing contest. And we've all enjoyed your story, A Princess at Heart. I got to read it for the podcast, which you'll be able to hear in just a little bit, and it was very entertaining to do myself. So let's go over the questions I had asked you once before. So where are you from?
We kind of moved around a lot when I was younger, so mostly just Cache Valley.
All right. So where all have you lived?
Brigham City, Logan,
American Fork,
Richmond.
Okay. All up and down Utah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Is writing your hobby right now?
Yeah, I do really like to write.
Yeah.
I'm also involved in some musical theater.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Musical theater. I hear you did Shrek.
Yes, I did. Shrek
Jr.
Jr.
And last time we talked about all the different plays. What name all the ones that you were in?
I've been in Christmas Carol quite a few times. I've been in Wizard of Oz, James and Giant Peach Jr., Shrek Jr., Yeah.
Those are definitely fun ones to be in. Wizard of Oz, were you a Munchkin or were you one of the...
I was a Munchkin, yeah.
That's a fun role.
Yeah.
That or being the flying monkey. How about yourself, Dan?
What's that?
Where are you from?
I'm originally from the Ogden area, but we decided to move up here to finish school and get to work. So yeah, but we're happy to be here in Cache Valley.
That's great. So, as you've watched your daughter write these stories and get so far in the competition, what are your thoughts and feelings about this?
I've seen a lot of her experience being on the stage with character development, with trying to learn how to bring a character to life on the stage. She brings that talent so much better in her writing. And I've seen that really grow over the past year. Just her writing's just gone so much better. Yeah. And but I've seen that she tries to bring that talent into her writing to really flesh out character development and really make things sound so real and ring true to people who read.
To be able to have such character influence in your stories, a lot of writers actually have to learn that and get used to it. And a lot of people think, oh, this is the character I want them to be, and that's going to be what they are throughout the whole thing. But what draws people in is you have a character who becomes something. Mm-hmm. And so that's a really unique thing to be able to have so early on. Do you plan on keeping writing?
Yes, I do.
Do you hope to be published one day?
Yes, I've started kind of writing a few books that I hope to be published someday.
Yeah. Do you hope to carry on with the story that you wrote for the contest?
Well, I also like to write plays.
Oh, okay.
And so I was thinking about turning that into a play.
Mm.
And so, yeah.
That'd be a good one. Just flesh it out a little bit more, make it expand, maybe add some musical numbers. It could be a good one. Well, so being a winner of the podcast, do you have any advice that you would give to the other contestants?
Probably just to make sure and be proud of your work. I used to not think that my writing was very good, but just writing more and more has helped me to get better at my writing. And yeah.
Be confident. It's very,
Yes.
very important. How about yourself, Dan? Do you have any advice to the parents of the contestants?
Well, I actually write for a living, and
Okay.
so but my advice is to always be observant of the world around you. Good writers, you're so observant, and you try to think of how things in the world connect, and try to understand the world and explain the world a little better through writing. And so good writers are always observant of people, of situations, and so if you're observant of the world and you're writing things down about all of that, you're going to be such a great writer.
So, keep your eyes and ears out. There's a lot of inspiration in the world to take from. Those people that tell you that there's no real genuine idea anymore, that everything's been used, so what? Even if everything has been used, you can take it in a unique way that only you can think of. A lot of people will probably agree and be like, oh, I've thought of that before, but no. The way that you will make it is unique to you. So it's really important. So where do you write for?
I write right now. I work for Wasatch Property Management,
Oh,
and
okay.
I write content for their website, but I've also wrote sports writing content for Real Salt Lake as well. So
Oh, wow.
so I dabbled in a lot of different things. So
You're probably excited about the new Real Salt Lake Center they opened up here in Cache Valley.
yeah, so I had to help cover that. So
Oh.
so when
There
that
you
got built, so yeah.
Well, it moves where you go, I guess. Well, that's awesome. Well, it's good to finally meet you again, I guess, for the second time. But thank you so much for coming in. You guys are awesome. Have a good one.
Okay.
Princess at Heart by Sarah Revo. Men, women, and children ran about in all directions. Excitement enveloped the annual festival of the kings. 20-year-old Amalia looked through the merchant's apples with a large basket in the crook of her arm. Her long brown hair was in a braid that hung over her shoulder and dropped down to her waist. After paying for several apples, she looked around at the people passing her. Many of them were royal, princesses, princes, dukes, and such. Her calloused hands and patched dress portrayed her poverty. She was not a princess. A trumpet sounded as a man draped with the Amarada family crest stood on a wood crate and held up a scroll in his fists. "Hear ye, hear ye. Prince Beltovio Amarada has sent me to read you this announcement. Ahem. On this day, the 14th of September, I hereby announce that the prince is searching for one lucky maid to be his bride." As soon as he said the word bride, chatter erupted through the crowd. The man waited for silence, then continued reading. "You must have an interview tomorrow at noon, and if you are eligible, the prince will make it known in a week's time." The buzz of excitement from all the young maidens never quite settled down after that. Nothing else was talked about for the whole week. The next day, when the designated time arrived, the young maidens gathered in the town square, ready for their chance to be interviewed. Amalia entered the town square to purchase food for supper. She was about to leave when a knight gently, but firmly, guided her into the crowd of chattering maidens. She tried to leave, but the giant doors swung open, and she was swept into a large room filled with knights and maidens. Each knight guided a maiden to an unoccupied space and interviewed her. Amalia tried to persuade the knight that she was not eligible, but he invariably dismissed her protests. When they reached an unoccupied spot, he began to question her. He asked many standard questions, such as, "How long have you lived in this kingdom?" and "What are your thoughts on the government?" But there were also questions that surprised Amalia, like, "Is your family a blessing to you?" and "When is a time you have helped someone?" Amalia did not wish to be a part of this, and certainly did not want to waste her time answering a pointless inquiry. She also did not want to get her hopes up. "I am only going to be a simple maiden my whole life," she thought, "so what's the point in trying?" Yet she answered every question compliantly. Amalia struggled to convince herself to avoid the town square as was possible when the message was declared, but curiosity overcame her. She found her way to the town square for more cabbage, though she had plenty. She arrived just as a tall knight was struggling to gain everyone's attention. "Excuse me, please quiet down. It is time to announce the few lucky maidens," declared a knight with a red mustache. "Now, there are only 7 ladies that are eligible. Their names are Alfonsina Bianchi, Delfina Ricci, Genevieve Marino, Camilla Moretti, Fiorella Bruno, Fiammetta Bruno, and Amalia Romano. Go to the castle at 4 o'clock tomorrow. It is required that you should walk there by yourself. Knock on the doors, and you will be allowed to enter after stating your name. Do not forget to go by yourself. Good day." To say that Amalia was astonished would be an understatement. "What?" she said aloud as she stared, dumbstruck at the ground. "Could it really be me? Or am I dreaming?" "Excuse me," said a woman nearby. "What was the last name he said?" "I believe it was Amalia Romano." She went back to staring at the ground, her mind reeling, until she heard a woman whispering to someone somewhere behind her. I think this is the most amazing thing that the prince has ever done. My shop will be greatly benefited. I will get so much business from these rich girls. They will want new dresses and shoes." The shop owner was right. A few seconds later, the princesses ran into the shop, all yelling orders at the woman. "I need shoes!" cried one. "I need to be fitted for a dress!" ordered another. It looked quite silly, this woman behind the counter being yelled at by the eligible princesses. Amalia walked toward the road, looking over her ragged and patched dress. She laughed out loud. "Can you imagine me showing up at the Royal Highness's castle like this? He will think I'm a beggar. Oh, how wonderful it would be to have a banquet with the prince. I will not go. Of that I am sure. Oh, it's so amazing that I was chosen." She hurried home to tell her parents the unbelievable thing that had just happened. The day came when the princesses and Amalia were to meet the prince. Amalia decided that she would go early and tell the prince that he had made a mistake of choosing her. While all the other rich maidens were getting ready, Amalia was milking her cow and picking wild blackberries for her family's breakfast. Amalia looked at herself. Her dress was torn and her arms and bare feet scraped from prickly bushes. She had enough time to pull her hair out of a tangled braid and comb it, but that was all. Fortunately, her long dark hair covered some of the scratches of her arms. Before Amalia left her house, she grabbed a small satchel and tossed in an apple, a piece of string, and a single gold coin, just in case. Then she started on her way, humming cheerily while the bright sun shined on her face and the cool breeze whipped her hair about. About a minute after Amalia went down the road to the castle, she saw a man sitting on the side of the path. His clothes were more ragged than Amalia's. "Madam," he croaked in an old-sounding voice. "Do you have any money to give? Please, do you have anything to spare?" The man stretched out his cupped hands and bowed his head. "Please." Amalia bent down and looked into his eyes. "What is your name?" she asked kindly. The man looked around nervously, as if he hadn't thought about that before. Giuseppe." Amalia smiled as she told him, "I had a great-grandfather whose name was Giuseppe." She reached into her satchel and pulled out the gold coin. "Here, take this." "Thank you, dear girl," Giuseppe cried. "Thank you." And with that he skipped happily down the road, surprisingly well and fast for an old man. A few minutes later she came to a fork in the road. To her right was the path she was on, but to her left, just a few feet away, was a woman planting her crops. Amalia watched her for a second, and the lady looked up. "Who are you?" the woman asked. "I'm Amalia Romano. Pardon me, but what are you doing? You shouldn't be working like that all by yourself." She sighed. "My husband died 4 years ago, and I have had no children to help me, and thus I am planting late." Amalia brightened. "May I help you?" she asked willingly, completely forgetting where she was going. The widow tried to protest, but Amalia was already putting her hair into a braid and tying it with her handy piece of string so it would not get in the way. She was not going to take no for an answer. The widow looked relieved. "Oh, yes," she cried. Amalia spent more than an hour helping her. Every time the woman said, "Thank you, but you've done enough. I think I can finish it by myself now," Amalia replied simply, "Let me help for a minute longer." When the work was finished, and she had eaten 2 cookies the widow had given her, she remembered where she was supposed to be going. So much for being early, she thought. Amalia walked a bit longer until she reached an open gate. She looked up and saw the castle, only a few yards away. "Incredible!" she exclaimed. It was massive. Amalia had seen the top of the castle before, but never the rest of it, for it was surrounded by innumerable trees. "Help! Please, help!" a voice that sounded like a young boy called out. "Where are you?" she called back. "I'm over here." Amalia ran a bit farther down the path until she came to a boy who was waist deep in a pit of mud. "Oh dear, how did you get in that mess?" she inquired. The boy shook his head. "It's a long story, but can you help me?" Amalia studied his situation. He was at least 2 feet away from grabbing onto anything, and she couldn't jump in or she might not be able to get out. At least, not easily. She could go get help. The door to the prince's castle must have been a few yards away. No, she couldn't leave him. But her feet were caked with mud, and it would be difficult not to slip. Amalia spotted a large stick and explained her plan. "All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab that tree branch and hold it by you. You just need to grab on and not let go, okay?" "Okay." Amalia grabbed the branch and lifted it. The branch wasn't as light as she thought it would be. Then she moved it so one end was close to him. "Grab on!" she exclaimed. He went to grab on, but before he could, Amalia slipped and almost fell into the pit herself. She would have, but a hand caught her just in time. She looked up and saw the prince. "I heard shouts and came to help," he said nobly. He helped her back on solid ground. The boy grabbed onto the branch, successfully this time, and they pulled him out. When the boy was finally out of the mud pit, Amalia turned to the prince and started talking as fast as her mouth would let her. "I was coming to tell you something, and I was hoping I could get there early before the princesses, and there were some people who needed help, and... "What did you want to tell me?" he asked. I needed to tell you that I am not exactly... Yes? I'm not a princess. I filled out the form because someone gave it to me, but I am just... me." Amalia looked at the ground, feeling ashamed. The prince took her hand and led her into his castle. "Which maiden are you?" he inquired.
Amalia, was the stiff answer. Of course. Amalia, did you meet someone named Giuseppe, or a widow? The prince's dark eyes were sparkling with wonder. Well, yes, they needed help, which is the reason I was late. Not that I blame them. Wait, how would you know? The prince's smile was suddenly replaced by a grin. I placed tests along the way to my castle, to see who would be generous enough to stop and help them. You were the only one who helped any of them. He bent down on one knee and revealed a gold ring. Amalia, will you marry me? Amalia was 1,000,000 times more astonished than when her name was called to come to the banquet. But I am no princess, she replied. You are a princess at heart. And Beltovio slid the ring onto her finger, and they lived happily forever after.